Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Daines. Senator Cortez Masto.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you all for being here. You're going to find pretty much consistent agreement here that for our tribal reservations in Indian country, we need to do all we can. And the technology does need to be neutral, and it also is based on geography, what's available. I will say this, Department of Energy, and this has been my frustration since I've been on this committee, and I've been on this committee since I've been in the Senate in 2017. And we get these incredible, Dr. Ortiz, thank you for your report, facts about Indian country. Indian country is always left behind, under-resourced, understaffed, lack of tribal consultation. And then we work together to do everything we can to change that. We introduce legislation, we appropriate, we want to make sure there is that consultation, there's the technical assistance, and then it seems like politics always gets in the way, and there's somebody in a political, makes a political decision to take it away. It is frustrating, and I think it's frustrating to all of us, no matter who the administration is. And I think that's why you see many of us fighting to right this ship and do right by Indian country. And so this is my frustration. Department of Energy, this is their congressional report, has reported that the vast majority of unelectrified homes in the United States are located on tribal land. That's true in my state. I invite you, Mr. Conrad, come to Nevada. I've been to the Indian country in my state. Some of them do not have water, let alone electricity. I will say many, because of our geography and our opportunities that are provided now because of the work that we have done, have the opportunity to have electricity, a different source of electricity. Most of it's going to be renewable. We have geothermal, we have solar, we have batteries. And there's been a strong investment for so many tribal communities so that they can have that opportunity. And now here we are again, the politics getting in the way and taking away those opportunities for folks to have just simple electricity in their homes that we all take for granted, quite honestly, in some of our areas. So that is my frustration. I understand your challenges and your constraints, but I hope you are true to your word, and I look forward to working with you, that this technology should be neutral, that no matter where you live in Indian country, your source of electricity should be available to you, and the federal support for it should be available to you to utilize, based on what we receive from this report. And so solar and wind, I don't like this idea of playing favorites. That's not what this is about. And so I'm looking forward to working with you, and I've listened to you, and I hope we have an opportunity to work together. Dr. Ortiz, I don't have much time, but I do want to ask you a question, because there's been a number of programs that have been zeroed out after we've appropriated some of the funds for them. One of them was the Solar for All program, which was designed to help low-income and disadvantaged communities gain access to new and efficient energy technologies and lower electricity bills. The program was set to distribute $7 billion, $500 million of which had been obligated for 6 different tribal applicants. And just a few weeks ago, the Trump administration's EPA announced that they would be terminating that program, leaving grant recipients without the assistance they were promised. So, as you've outlined in your report, how does this leave Indian country? What's the ultimate impact here for Indian country when these types of programs are taken away?
Thank you for that question. I think in addition to the failure to meet the nation's trust and treaty obligations and really follow through for the people of Indian country, it perpetuates the myth that you can't get anything done in Indian country. We have tribes and consortia and TIDOs who are doing so much work to come together, really leverage the kinds of power sources they have on their lands, elsewhere, other resources, bring that together. They spend years planning the process. They spend years investing in finance, responding to questions from agencies, and then when something like this happens, the deal falls apart, and it leaves people without power, and it just perpetuates this myth that should not be the case. There really is amazing potential for energy development in Indian country, and one of the greatest benefits of this tribal energy finance program in particular was this technology neutral aspect of it. It really allowed tribes to be in the driver's seat to determine what was best for their situation and their resources.
Thank you. And I know my time is up. I do have a question for Ms. Fenton, if it's all right, because I do think it's important. I appreciate the work that you have done in the collaboration and thinking outside the box. And I think I know in Nevada, many of our tribal communities are in really rural frontier areas, and it requires them to figure out how to address some of these challenges. And you talked about in Alaska being a model for some of these partnerships. Can you talk a little bit about some of those partnerships and what I can bring back to at least Indian country in Nevada, where they could look to say, hey, this is a model and it's something we should be looking at that we could possibly replicate or learn from?
Yes, and specifically, we are looking into what can be replicated, but just hearing, about some of the hydropower and, coal resources they have in Montana, we've really found that the technical assistance, getting out into communities, seeing their needs, understanding their unique circumstances for developing a project, and also taking a challenge or an issue and supporting them to get that to a project. You can have an issue. It takes a lot of development to get into a fundable project, whether it's state, federal funds, philanthropic funds, loan potential, adding to that capital stack. Having that hand-holding and technical assistance is crucial. So that's something that can be replicated, copy-pasted to other states and tribal communities.
Can I ask, is your commission, is it state? Is it a state-funded or state?
So we
agency?
are the Regional Commission for Alaska. We focus on just the state of Alaska.
Okay.
But we are looking at technology transfers and seeing where we can partner with other, communities and whatnot. So I say that, the technical assistance aspect, the partnering aspect, and there could be some potential on, Mr. Conrad and I discussed earlier today how the regionalization of this type of support can be very helpful. We've seen success in Alaska. Maybe we can, have another coordinating body or some additional communication and coordination to focus on tribal infrastructure. Okay. We have areas in Alaska that have had, more success because they had someone dedicated or a group dedicated to a particular facet of infrastructure, so water and sewer, for example, and we have, partners that are going into the, more of the energy and power realm, and then we have, transportation groups. And so coordinating, communicating some of the successes from that regional approach, giving that support to individual or smaller communities that need that backup. They may have, staff turnover. They need subject matter expertise. When we have it in the regions, or even in addition to having additional supplies or things located in region to take away, to add some slack in the line of the supply chain, of course, especially in Alaska, whenever you are operating with short construction seasons and whatnot. I think those are some things that can be helpful in other areas.
Thank you. Thank you all three for being here.
Thank you, Senator. And I think that that's a